Let's mix some salt water. Hello everyone, Reefer Gill here. This video we're going to cover mixing salt water. It's really geared toward those who are beginners or thinking about getting into the hobby. Mixing your own salt water can cause people to be a little intimidated, but this video will cover the basics and hopefully make you more confident in mixing your own salt water. If you're new to the hobby or thinking about getting into the hobby, I highly recommend getting your own RODI system. You could permanently mount it the way I have it here, or you could have it and keep it underneath the shelf and take it out as needed. One of the biggest key factors to having a successful reef tank is stability, and there's no better way to make your water stable than using your own water source continuously and same salt mix. Going back and forth to your local fish store to buy their water is going to get old pretty fast. Also, you never know when they change things up, which is going to throw off the stability in your own tank. To mix your salt water, you'll obviously need a container like this or a bucket to hold your water, and you'll also need the following items. You're going to need your salt mix, a measuring cup, a pump, a heater, a hydrometer, or better yet, a refractometer. I'll be using this Aqua Vitro salinity salt mix that I've been using since the inception of my system 4 years ago. It calls for half a cup of salt mix per US gallon, doing 20 gallons worth of water, so I'll need 10 cups of salt mix. I'll be filling up this container since it holds 2 cups worth of salt mix. I'll be filling up the container 5 times. Here I have a pinpoint monitor to measure the amount of salinity in the mixing bin, as well as a thermometer to measure the temperature of the water in the mixing bin. You want to ensure that the salinity is the same salinity level as your display tank, which is usually about 1.026 specific gravity or 35 parts per thousand, or in this case this is a conductivity measurement of millisiemens per centimeter, which is 53, which is the equivalent of 1.026 and the equivalent of 35 parts per thousand. You also want to ensure that the water temperature in the freshly mixed salt water matches the water temperature in your display tank so that you don't shock the system. Since I just did a 20-gallon water change upstairs, we're going to use a spin here to mix 20 gallons worth of salt mix. Okay, I'll go ahead and switch off all the pumps. I had them off during the video so I wouldn't have any background noise, but they are on a timer. They turn off at night and then turn back on in the morning. So we're going to switch them on. Another important point I want to make is you add the salt to the water. You don't add the water to the salt. In other words, you don't take an empty bucket, put salt in there, and then the water. You have the water in there first, and then you add the salt. So we'll go ahead and turn this on. So we'll bring in some fresh RODI water. And I'll fill this to the 20-gallon limit line. As it's filling up, I'll go ahead and start putting the salt in. And the last one. Now I know where 20 gallons is because the watermark is right here. Let's wait for it to get there. Now you see how grimy the water is? It's extremely cloudy. You do not want to introduce this into your system right away. You want to let it mix until the water is absolutely clear, and then at that point you can put it in your system. So we'll come back to this in a couple hours and you'll see the difference in the clarity. We'll go ahead and take a look at what the salinity monitor is reading right now, as well as the temperature. Okay, you can see that the pinpoint monitor, the salinity is reading at 50. Our target number is 53. It's slowly creeping up. Don't pay any attention to this right now. Wait until the water is absolutely clear and then check your salinity to ensure that it matches your display tank's water. Also, you notice that the temperature dropped. That's because my fresh water doesn't have a heater, and when it dropped down into the salt mixing bin down below, it cooled down the water. So I would definitely want to wait until the water warmed up before I put it into my system. I run my tank around 78 to 80 degrees. Once you're done with your salt mix, be sure to put the lid back on your bucket and make sure it's securely tightened. If you have a bag, fold it over so that no air gets in. These things tend to absorb moisture, and once moisture gets in these, the salt gets clumpy and it's unusable. It'll also protect you from accidental water spills. Okay, we're back. It's been about 12 hours since the stuff's been mixing. The water is clear, although there is kind of an optical illusion. Aqua Vitro brand salt has a notorious reputation for leaving this film on the walls of the mixing bins. And you can see it on the pipe there. It's kind of a brown film. So I do have to clean the equipment every once in a while. But we'll go ahead and show you guys that the water is in fact clear. It is not cloudy. And we'll go ahead and see what the readings are. Okay, the salinity reading is at 52.9. In essence, it's at 53. I'm not going to worry about it. And also the temperature is at 80 degrees, so that's good to go in case I have to do water change. I highly recommend that you guys have some spare water on hand that's already pre-mixed and warmed up in the event that you have some kind of emergency where you have to do an emergency water change. Earlier I mentioned that you're better suited using a refractometer than this hydrometer. And that's because these are very inconsistent in the readings. Salt creep can play a role here. If you don't clean these out after every use, the arm will tend to get stuck and not give you an appropriate reading. I wouldn't really recommend one of these at all. Here's an example of a refractometer. What you would do is open the lid, get some sample water, which is in this pipette now, close the lid up, and then turn it around and look into some sort of light source, and then you'll be able to see the reading. That'll do it for this video. Thanks for watching. Please hit that thumbs up if you enjoyed it, and we'll see you next time.